My guest is Alan Bergman, noted entertainment attorney. As you can see, Alan has a lot of expertise, a lot of experience. And I want to go back a few decades to Alan's earlier days. Could you speak a bit about how you came to be involved with Impulse Records and what you remember about the artist on Impulse?
Because of my music publishing experience, I was hired by ABC Records. The Impulse label was part of that, and it was a jazz label known in retrospect historically as the label where uh, innovation and revolutionary music came to be. But it actually was founded by Creed Taylor, who was a pop producer, and brought to jazz the concept of large production, big bands, great recording, a very pop-oriented and successful label. And Creed really created. I wasn't there when Creed was there, but he created and the other thing he did was visually he created these big double fold covers that opened out and had great artwork by Pete Turner and other people on it. And he had some very successful artists, one of whom was Ray Charles, another was John Coltrane. Went to a lot of those sessions. Bob Thiel was a really nice guy, a great producer who basically let people in the studio, left them alone to do what they wanted to do. I can tell one kind of anecdote here. It was one of my favorite stories. As John Coltrane's career advanced, he got more and more experimental. In fact, he did most of his recording in his garage at home, where there were boxes and boxes of tapes, and they would be released on occasion. Anyway, the procedure at ABC was that you'd come into your office, and there would be what's called a test pressing. There was an LP, of course, no CDs at the time. So you had this LP with a white label and a white sleeve sitting on your desk. It was distributed to all employees, even lawyers. So I put this thing on the record player. I listened to it for about 3 minutes. I took it off the record player, put it back in the sleeve, walked over to Bob Thiel's office and stood at the door. And he looks at me, he says, I know, it'll be a classic. Well, it was a John Coltrane recording called Ascension, which was a one composition which lasted both sides of an LP. Had a big group of about 20 people, all of whom came in at different times, and at the end of the record, were all playing together and not playing anything anybody particularly recognized. So that was what Impulse became mostly known for. But I do also remember sitting in my office, and Howard Stark, the sales manager, came out we had this big open bullpen kind of thing, and he shouts at the top of his lung, do we have a record called California Dreamin'? Well, fortunately, the answer to that was yes, we did. And, of course, it became a huge, immortal hit along with the Mamas and the Papas. And, you know, if time permitted, I could tell you some pretty funny stories about the Mamas and the Papas, especially Mama Cass. But anyway, those are my recollections of Impulse Records, Creed Taylor, Bob Thiel, and the other characters from the old music business. Because remember that all these companies came from somewhere. ABC was a television network, which was run like a candy store, because it had come from ABC theaters, Paramount theaters. And so the people who were running the record company were really people who had worked in theaters, who were one step and maybe no steps above the mafia. I mean, they were street guys. They were bookers in movie houses. These guys they had no concept what John Coltrane was or even Ray Charles. They were just kind of sleazy street guys from New York. And you'd go into one guy's office at 6 o'clock at night, and a bottle of scotch is sitting on the table, and he's telling stories from the old days, you know. So that the record companies really came out of the three big companies, came out of the three television networks, which were at that point radio networks. RCA from NBC, Columbia Records from CBS, and ABC Records and Impulse, whatever. So Bob Thiel, who was basically a rich man's son from Sheepshead Bay in New York, but had developed, a liking for jazz and had actually had some little jazz labels of his own, was dealing with these basically peddlers from the Paramount Theater who were running the record label. So it led to quite a picturesque interplay of experiences at that time, and I lived through that for 3 or 4 years before I went on to work for the music publisher, the Richmond organization, which made a career and a fortune out of folk rock music of the 60s, Pete Seeger, the Byrds, We Shall Overcome, all of that stuff, Lead Belly, all of that stuff, and made tremendous successful foray into the area of English rock. So I was involved early on with King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the Moody Blues, David Bowie, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, all of those things, Pink Floyd, all of those things from a music publishing point of view. Remember, again, we're dealing with the songs and not with the records. Those records were on major labels.
Okay, well.